you. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, esteemed colleagues and engaged citizens, I am Orange County Commissioner Emily Bonilla of District 5. Today I stand before you to address a matter of great significance, the future of the split oak forest. As a representative of Orange County District 5, I am here to convey our position regarding the proposed Osceola Parkway extension, which threatens the integrity of this precious environmental area. In recent times, we have witnessed a pivotal shift in the public opinion and political will regarding the split oak forest. In a resounding message delivered through the democratic process, 86% of Orange County voters in 2020 expressed their opposition to any impacts that would harm this forest. This overwhelming mandate has shaped our stance and reinforced our commitment to uphold the will of the people. Orange County has always cherished the ecological and cultural value of split oak forest. It is not merely land, but a living community that houses diverse species and ancient ecosystems. Any threat to its integrity is a threat to our environmental stewardship and our community's values. In this light, I must make it clear. On November 28, 2023, Orange County, in a 6-to-1 vote, made a statement that it no longer supports the impact on the forest by the road construction and will not sign to amend any of the interlocal agreements between FWC or FCT. This decision is not made lightly, but comes from a deep responsibility to protect what our citizens hold dear. To move forward with any amendments to these agreements without the support of Orange County would not only disregard the public's overwhelming voice, but would also constitute a breach of our contract, a contract formed on mutual trust and shared goals for environmental conservation. As stewards of the land and representatives of the people, we must consider the long-term impacts of our decisions. The conservation easements established were meant to protect split oak forest in perpetuity. To alter these without considering the full environmental cost and against the explicit will of the people would undermine the very purpose of our agreement. Therefore, we urge all stakeholders, including the Central Florida Expressway Authority and our partners in Osceola County, to reconsider the proposed route for the Osceola Parkway extension. We call for a renewed focus on alternatives that will safeguard our natural heritage without compromising the ecological health of the area. In closing, let us remember that our actions today will echo in the legacy we leave for our future generations. We have the opportunity to choose a path of conservation over convenience, to demonstrate that community will and environmental preservation can guide our decisions for the greater good. Thank you.
So good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Executive Director Young. In December, I presented background information on the proposed Osceola Parkway extension that would impact 1.3 miles of the split oak forest wildlife and environmental area. In October of 2023, staff had received a request to release a portion of the FWC easements that are held at split oak forest, and we sought your input and direction. At that December commission meeting, you directed Executive Director Young and staff to enter into negotiations on a mitigation package that would provide a net positive benefit and to return to a future commission meeting with an update. Split oak forest is a WEA and an FWC managed area of almost 1,700 acres in Orange and Osceola counties. The dotted line on this image shows the Orange County area to the north and the Osceola County area to the south. The WEA was acquired in 1992 with a combination of funding that included county funds and a grant and loan from the Florida Communities Trust. FWC's predecessor, the Game and Freshwater Fish Commission, purchased easements over the area to offset the cost to the counties. During the 1990s, we entered into a management agreement and were designated as the area manager. The WEA is found within a mosaic of developed agricultural and conservation lands with development that is rapidly occurring. There are county-approved plans for development and transportation infrastructure, and that also includes the Osceola Parkway extension. Commissioners, I am going to provide a brief summarized timeline for the proposed expressway. This is a highlight of some significant activities that occurred. It is by no means a full accounting of all of the different meetings that have occurred over the years between Osceola County, Orange County, and the Florida Communities Trust. For many members of the public that are here today, the Parkway extension is an issue that they have engaged in for more than a decade, and they have spoken at public meetings for all of the counties and for the Florida Communities Trust. Again, I'm not outlining all of those opportunities in different meetings. The first feasibility study was started in 2012. And during that time, and in the years immediately after that, FWC staff provided technical information through our commenting processes. This included the potential impacts to habitat, to species, and the increased challenges of managing an area that has a major roadway near it. In 2017, an environmental advisory group was formed by CFX, and in 2018, they initiated the evaluation of the potential alignments that are shown here on this map. The original alignment is the area that's shown in blue that cut across the middle of Split Oak. The Split Oak minimization alternative is shown on the south end in green, and the Split Oak avoidance alternative is shown in orange, and it goes just south of the border of Split Oak. Based on current analysis, the avoidance route would impact more than 100 homes. These alternatives were presented to the public in 2019. The counties and CFX passed resolutions to support the minimization option. Again, that's the one that's in green at the south end of Split Oak. And CFX also identified donation lands that could serve as mitigation for the acreage that would be impacted by the road. As I mentioned earlier, part of the funds used to purchase Split Oak Forest included a grant from the Florida Communities Trust. In 2022, the FCT board agreed to modify the grant agreement to allow for the minimization option, and they included items related to the specific items related to the mitigation and grant agreement that would need to be resolved. Also in 2022, CFX passed another resolution to support the information that was presented to FCT in the mitigation package. In October of 2023, Osceola County, as the landowner that is in charge of the areas that are where the easement and the road will cross, applied to FWC and requested that we release a portion of the easements that we had purchased. In December, we sought your input and direction, and you asked the executive director to identify a mitigation package that would provide a net positive benefit. Since then, Director Young, Chairman Barreto, and staff have participated in a site visit. At this site visit, it was noted that development was encroaching on the southern and eastern boundaries of Split Oak, as seen in the photos that were taken from the area of the proposed right-of-way, again looking to the west and to the south. Director Young and staff have met with CFX and Osceola County, and in mid-April, staff held a public meeting. The request that we received from Osceola County in October was for the partial release of easements that covered 60 acres of the right-of-way, again that's outlined here in yellow, and an additional 100 acres that were south of the proposed road. This was because throughout this process, staff have indicated that there are challenges with managing that area. Osceola County included a mitigation package that closely mirrored the CFX approved package. The donation of 1,550 acres that are adjacent to Split Oak, again that's shown here in blue on the map, and this would be an area that would be donated to the counties. $13.3 million for funding for restoration and management, as well as bridged wildlife crossings and signage to assist with prescribed fire management. Again, these were the items that were our starting point for negotiations. As I've mentioned several times, staff have been looking at this issue since 2012, and we have noted many of the impacts over the years that we would anticipate seeing. Direct impacts are expected to the 60 acres of the right-of-way. There are likely to be increased challenges from managing the area that's south of the proposed alignment. There is the potential for impact to recreational access, and we would expect to see wildlife impacts through both direct loss of habitat and fragmentation. Staff have also noted the concerns related to the release of the perpetual easements. The goal of a mitigation package would be to offset these impacts and to provide a net positive benefit. Over the last several months, with input from the chairman, Director Young and staff have identified key components of an FWC proposed mitigation package. First, we would maintain easements and management of the area south of the proposed roadway with partial release of only the 60 acres of direct impact. We do feel that it's important to release as few acres as possible. The addition of the 1,550 acres of land to Split Oak Forest WEA was originally proposed as county-owned lands. We are requesting state ownership of those lands. The proposed donation lands are a 25-to-1 offset by acreage. When we look at the upland portion, it's a 17-to-1 offset, and when we're really specific and we're looking at gopher tortoise habitat, it's a 6-to-1 offset. The additional lands do need restoration and long-term management, much as Split Oak did when we obtained authority to manage it in the early 90s. Based on current expenses for similar work on other WMAs, we are requesting $23.9 million for restoration and management over the next 30 years. To offset the impacts to access, we're also requesting $1.25 million that we would use for improvements in both Orange and Osceola counties. This would include entrance areas, trails, an enhanced viewing platform at Bonnet Pond, and additional picnic areas. In addition to the land and financial contributions, FWC staff would approve the number and the placement of bridging for people, wildlife, and equipment, and we would also identify the best signage options to help with prescribed fire management. We also have the opportunity to increase state conservation lands for impacts that are occurring outside of Split Oak Forest WEA by working with CFX, DEP, and the water management districts. $18 million in additional land for the WMA system would be acquired as part of the CFX mitigation that would be in lieu of mitigation banking credits. We would focus on areas that are within and adjacent to our existing WMAs. These acquisitions would support the Wildlife Corridor Act, and we would prioritize areas within Osceola, Orange, and the surrounding counties. Staff held a public meeting on April 18th in the Orlando area, and approximately 60 people attended that. Some participants felt frustrated that they had been providing similar comments at public meetings for almost a decade, and their comments did follow similar themes to what we heard in December at the commission meeting and what was heard at the FCT board meeting in 2022. Written comments were collected and those were provided to you. While there were questions about the legality of the release of perpetual easements, it is important to note that these lands are county-owned lands and not subject to the same considerations for release of conservation lands as state-owned conservation lands. Many comments echoed FWC staff concerns about the management challenges for the areas south of the road and the increased management challenges that occur in a rapidly developing area. Our staff are lead area managers on more than 1.5 million acres around the state, and we have these challenges in other areas of the state as well. We are able to proactively work with communities to continue to manage in areas that are developing, and we are able to successfully manage along major roads such as I-75 and the Florida Turnpike. Many people provided comments on general transparency and community engagement, not all of it specific to the FWC, and they also mentioned concerns about things that would occur off of the Split Oak boundary. Some comments included options for alternative solutions, including continuing to consider other routes, conservation funding from tolls that are collected, and using outside experts to evaluate the impacts. Pending your input and direction, additional steps would be needed to move forward with partial release of the easements. New interagency management agreements would be needed. The area management plan would need to be updated and revised. And there would be additional steps to transfer the land and the funding prior to the release of any easements. Today, staff requests direction from the commissioners regarding the mitigation package presented, and, if warranted, direction to the executive director to finalize the necessary agreements. Commissioners, this concludes my presentation.